Hey guys, welcome back. I'm top music attorney Miss Crystal, and Megan Thee Stallion is in the thick of it with her record label, duking it out in court. As you guys know, Megan Thee Stallion filed a lawsuit. The label is now countersued, and they're suing her for kind of an interesting claim, something that's come up with the clients that I represent who are signed with major record labels, so I figured we could get into it in today's video. And for those of you who are independent artists, I think you're going to learn a lot from this video. So if you're ready, let's go. Hi guys, I'm top music attorney Miss Crystal. I'm an entertainment attorney, public speaker, and creator of the Top Music Attorney School for artists and record labels. I'm the owner of Dukes Up Records, and most importantly, I'm an independent artist. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss my weekly videos giving you my best tips on the music business, industry news updates, and teaching you how to stay legally protected. So TMZ reported an update today over the lawsuit that Megan Thee Stallion had filed in relation to Something for the Hotties album. Now, the basis of this lawsuit is that Megan's asking the court to declare that she has satisfied one of her albums required under her contract. So now what's happened is her label, 1501 Certified Entertainment, is countersuing and arguing that she did not satisfy the requirement under the contract, and so now she still owes them 2 albums. So essentially what the label is claiming is that this album, Something for the Hotties, which is comprised of 21 total tracks, is not satisfactory to her album requirement because it's comprised of old material and interludes that don't even feature her on the actual tracks. So they're saying that this was essentially a filler album, and even though the label ended up releasing it, they're not going to count it towards that album fulfillment. So let's talk about this, what's qualified as old music, right? So the label is claiming, well, a lot of these songs are songs that have already been released. And in the contract, not just Megan Thee Stallion's contract, but in a lot of contracts with record labels, the key language is the music has to be new master recordings. Now, as a quick 101 for you guys, masters just refer to the final recorded versions of the music. And new, well, that word typically is not defined in most contracts. And so that's going to be a piece that has to be argued in court. What does new mean? Does it mean that it hasn't been previously released? Of course, the record label is going to claim that's the case because at the end of the day, there's a big payday for the record label if they're able to get another album out of Megan Thee Stallion. Now, if I was representing Megan Thee Stallion, I would come in and argue that, well, in a new compilation, right? So for a new record, a new album that's being released, there are new what's called ISRC codes. There are new international codes that are assigned to each of the songs. So when we release, let's say, deluxe editions, they're not the same as far as how they are tracked or identified on music platforms. And so from that standpoint, I would say they are absolutely new tracks. And this is a new compilation, and the record label has benefited from a financial standpoint in the same kind of way that the label would have if they had just put out another album with, let's say, different masters on it. Now, the other spicy piece of this is that Megan Thee Stallion has a 360 deal. And a 360 deal means that the label takes a piece of everything that she does in her entertainment career. That's beneficial for the label because that means the label is getting a piece of her sponsorship deals, her acting gigs, if she's doing any of that, on top of the music. It's really anything that happens in her entertainment career. And in fact, as part of the countersuit, the label is saying, hey, we want to know all the accounting of the endorsements, right? The sponsorships, the touring. We want to know everything because we're not really clear on that. And basically, we want our money. And again, going back to if the label is successful in the countersuit and able to essentially get an additional album, well, then the label gets all of the additional revenues that were received from her career as she was just kind of performing and doing all of her other stuff during that period. And so, you know, as reported by TMZ, that means a potential $1 million+ for the label if it's successful. Now, while recording this, there's already been an update. Megan Thee Stallion tweeted out some responses, which I'm going to read for you guys. But before I get into that, I thought I would just share one experience that I had through my law firm. So we have an artist and he is signed with a major label, and we had this exact issue come up. Now, the slight difference in our scenario was that our artist had done live performances. And so we were trying to have from the live performances, from what was released by the album, well, it met the minimum number of tracks for an album, but the label was pushing back and saying, well, because it's a live performance, we don't consider this to satisfy that new master recording definition in the contract, and so therefore the artist owes us an additional album. So I have definitely been in the weeds with issues like this, and it makes a big difference because for a typical artist, an album cycle might be a year up to 2 years. And so it's a big chunk of change. It's a lot of time that is spent kind of stuck with that label, especially in this case. I think Megan Thee Stallion wants to be done with this label as soon as possible. And so guys, when you look at your record label agreements, there are usually a long list of defined terms. And so sometimes it's what's in the contract, what is defined is great because it provides clarity. And sometimes when something's not in there, it gives us room to argue because there's gray area, right? So what is qualified as a new sound recording? And in the instance of my artist, well, you better believe that I'm arguing that a live recording is still a new sound recording. And so this is how obviously we can end up in court kind of duking it out over these terms and contracts. So as promised, I'm going to read off what Miss Megan Thee Stallion said herself. So she tweeted starting with greedy ass men, followed by, my lawyers asked him for an expense report, money 1501 supposedly has spent on me. Why this grown-ass man put his jewelry and chains on there? Lord, free me from this joke-ass label. When she says she is asked for an expense report of what has been paid on her behalf, this is such a common thing that comes up. And, record labels are notoriously bad at their bookkeeping because what happens is that the label takes revenue that comes in to pay itself back. But then labels, if they're paying themselves, right, they're paying their teams and maybe they're not doing great accounting or they're overpaying people just to kind of fluff the books a little bit. In like, I think 100% of the cases where you audit a record label, it turns out that they were not doing great bookkeeping and they were not paying the artist correctly. So, I'm not surprised to hear that there's been maybe some underreporting and not giving her statements when requested. But the good piece of a lawsuit is that with the lawsuit, you have to disclose this stuff. It's required. And so I think she's going to get that information. But that's not where it ends. She goes on and says, I choose not to say anything back about court and address this shit online, but I'm getting tired of being painted the bad guy 24/7, the last girl on 1501 mad at this man too. So this case and story is far from over. But like I said, if you're an independent artist, there is a lot to be learned from this scenario. And if you're trying to get help and you're trying to understand contracts, I got your back. Go to Top Music Attorney School at topmusicattorney.com. I have all kinds of courses teaching you how to understand contracts like a pro. If you guys are interested in checking out a little of what I'm up to musically, just search Miss Crystal on all music platforms. Don't forget to come say hi on social media. I'm definitely the most active on Instagram, and it's always amazing to meet you guys. Be sure to subscribe, turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss any videos from your new favorite top music attorney. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Miss Crystal.